Jumping In on Manx Radio.
With Howard and Chris Kane.
Guten Tag.
Wie geht's?
And welcome. As you might have gathered from that introduction, either we're going European or it is a German jazz special here on Jumpin' In with myself, Edge.
And me, Chris, ja, es großartig, Sie zu dieser Deutschland-Sonderausgabe von Jumpin' In begrüßen zu dürfen. So willkommen. Enough of that. And apologies to German speakers everywhere. Yes, it's another country-focused Jumpin' In special, focusing this time on jazz from the land of beer, bratwurst, and of course, Oktoberfest, or in this instance, October Just. So we will delve into our collections and try and bring you a show which doesn't mention the other B word once. So what has been gemütlich other than your Hefeweizens this wok, H?
Well, there's plenty of choice, actually, even though you might not think straight off of Germany as being a jazz country. Michael Volney, I'll say, for a good starter. He's a family man now. He was a sort of young lad when we first knew him, but yes, one of the new young German jazz talents as they're going. We have the expat now, Ingrid Laubruck, a German, then to Britain, and now, of course, for many years in New York. And could we have a German jazz without the great Eberhard Weber?
And from me, well, random, held and light. But to get things going with a buzz, here's Hive Mind. Very nice indeed, I think. Hamburg-born pianist Benjamin Schaffer with the title track of his latest release. He's got about half a dozen albums out. This is his first for big band, Hive Mind. And any pianist who cites John Taylor among his teachers has got to be worth a listen for me, and Hive Mind does not disappoint. Another example for really interesting writing, going from minimalism to dense polyphony and great use of different instruments. Hive Mind, worth digging out.
Definitely worth digging at. Yeah, very nice indeed, that one. This one is worth digging at, as is pretty much any Michael Volney CD, album, track, download, call it what you will, whatever your particular fancy is, on the wonderful ACT label, who, of course, have championed a lot of young German jazzes at one stage. And when Volney first came out, it was with the group M. And there was a weird one where it had square bracket, little e, little m, close square bracket. It probably means something, but I have no idea what. They had 3 or 4 albums out and a live one, I think, before they disbanded after the bass player from that. I think she sort of retired because she started a family. I think she was retiring from music for the time being. Hopefully she'll come back again. Eva Kross, I think that was. But Volney has gone on in leaps and bounds and has forged out a spectacular solo career, and also with a trio. It's just got a new solo one out, which is getting great reviews. Haven't heard it yet. We're going to go back a couple of years to the Michael Volney trio, Weltentraum Live, Philharmonie Berlin, and this is from 2014. It was recorded March the 24th to be exact. And of course it's live, which means there's lots of nice applause. Let's hear it, please, for the Michael Volney Trio. Nacht. Yes, very nice indeed. Michael Volney with his trio track called Nacht, and that trio, Michael, of course, taking a piano. It was Eva Kraus who used to play the bass when it was M.E.M., his first group. Now, of course, that role taken by Tim Lefebvre, Eric Schaffer on drums, and Eric Schaffer himself has got some albums out. Almost chose one of his as well. But terrific stuff, yes. Any of the Michael Volney, always interesting, spiky. You never quite know what direction it's going to go in. And yes, a new one out and out. We'll try and bring that to you in the next few weeks. A solo one, something like Modern Kind or something along those lines.
Very nice, as you say. And, of course, Act Records set up by Siggy Locke, who's 80. He's 80 now. It's set up in 1992, so not quite running as long as ECM, but obviously inspired by them. And Siggy himself, in fact, despite sounding German, is from Poland. So another artist on the Act label, actually, who started off, again, as a young, up-and-coming German artist in the Young Germans category. If it's good enough for Siggy to say that, it's good enough for me. It's cheating a bit, really, because he's Austrian, but they'd probably never get a show to themselves, and they are talking now. So here's Ob Philly bis zu Kugelrund. A band I think I'd like to see live. David Hellbock's Random Control. Imagine walking into a theatre and seeing a stage set with more than 20 instruments and then just 3 musicians appear. David Hellbock on piano, electric piano and percussion. Johannes Barr on trumpet, flugelhorn, sousaphone, tuba, alpenhorn, beatbox, didgeridoo, electronics and percussion, and Andreas Brugger on saxes of all kinds, clarinets of all sizes, flutes and percussion, and all done with a great, albeit Germanic, sense of humour.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Sounds like a sort of slightly drunken sort of Oktoberfest band, doesn't it? Sort of they get going there.
They can play. I mean, they can certainly play.
Terrific stuff. Here's a band I wouldn't have minded seeing either. Sadly, it won't take place because, Some of them aren't around, so this is one of the, I suppose, grandfathers to a degree of modern German jazz. Eberhard Weber, of course, been a fantastic, mainstay for me for many years. So many great albums he did. Sadly, of course, he suffered a stroke in the early 2000s, I think it was, and hasn't really been able to play ever since. He has brought out a couple of albums by dint of digital wondery. They've been very effective. Resume, I think, was one, was it? Been a couple out. But I'm going back a bit before that with a fantastic lineup from his album later that evening. Paul McCandless taking Reed's duties. He's still going with Oregon, of course. The great Bill Frisell, must be in his 70s now, on guitar. Sadly, the recently departed Lyle Mace on piano in this one, and one of his more lyrical outings, without a doubt. Michael De Pasqua, who is still with us, but abandoned jazz drumming to go into the family roofing business, I think it was, many years ago. There's obviously more money in roofing in Florida than there is in jazz, and that he hasn't played, I think, professionally for quite a few years now. And Eberhard himself on the bass. Great track. This one's called the Mauritius. Classic, timeless stuff. Classic German jazz. Eberhard Weber on the ECM label, of course, for so many years. And who knows, maybe he has got another project up his sleeve yet. But sadly, I don't think we'll ever see him perform live again. And yeah, some magic moments I've had over the years watching him go into one of his solos, looping his own bass and playing tracks and melodies over the top. Wonderful stuff. Usually with Jan Garbarek, of course. Paul McCandless taking saxophone duties there. Bill Frisell on guitar. The late Lyle Mays on piano. Michael Di Pasqua on drums and percussion. Always a wonderful percussionist. So sad he dropped out of the scene. And Eberhard himself, of course, leading from the bass.
Very cinematic music it is too. And in fact, Colours, his well-known group he led for many years, has been re-released on ECM a little while ago as a box set with all of the Colours albums, and that's worth a punt. If you don't know the music, you can lose yourself for a pleasant 3 or 4 hours working your way through that. Now, another musician I think we've both followed since he appeared on the scene, another pianist as it happened, who was another one who was a hotly tipped young up-and-coming pianist, Pablo Held. His trios and quartets have always demanded attention, and earlier this year he released his second album, now on the Edition Records label, called Ascent, and they very kindly sent us a copy. Here's Unlocking Mechanism. unlocking mechanism there from Pablo Helbel's new album Ascent, which is a collaboration between his long-running trio with bassist Robert Lanferman and drummer Jonas Bergwinkel and the great Brazilian guitarist Nelson Veras on this album. It's his 11th album overall. Held and his longtime collaborators have developed that level of empathy where you can tell they sense and relish all the twists and turns, which, you know, they've already anticipated. Great piano album this, and Pablo just continues to go from strength to strength.
Yeah, terrific stuff, and yes, I'll be interested to see where he heads. A fine player, without a doubt. Ingrid Laubruck, we used to see her on the London scene. We spoke to her. I don't think we actually did a full interview with her, unless I'm much mistaken, but certainly saw her at several festivals. She started out in Germany, of course, played on the German scene for a while, relocated to London, certainly around the 80s and into the 90s, and was very active with the Fire Collective and on the London scene, and then over 10 years ago now, relocated to New York and the Intact label, and has been there ever since, working very much at the freer end of the spectrum. Terrific player. I'd love to see her back on the British scene again, because I'm afraid I haven't been to New York for a while in the current climate, but maybe catch up with her in New York one day. Who knows? But here's one she did with the Fire Collective in those days. Callum Merchant on piano, Ben Davis on cello, and Julian Skinner on clarinet. And this one's called Forensic Experts. autumn leaves. Bit late. I think we're into winter now. Wolfgang Hafner, another wonderful German drummer, from his album Kind of Cool.
And we once again appear to have exhausted our supply of beer and sausages. Not we need any help with
the beer
that.
was good, though.
Yes, hope you enjoyed this special. No doubt we bring you another in the near future. But for now, we leave you with an old favourite that to me sounds just as good today as it did when it was released back in 1984. Rainer Bruninghaus, Markus Stockhausen, and Freddie Studer with Strahlenspur from Continuum. So, tschüss.
Auf Wiedersehen.